Hello, thanks for joining me, astrologer Patrick Arundell, for your April monthly horoscope for the Sun or the Ascendant. If you've yet to subscribe to our channel, we'd be delighted if you did so now. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. If you've got some big things going on in your life and you'd like some expert guidance, why not check out my one-to-one testimonials by seeing the link below. It's one of the most enriching parts of my work, working in this way. If you'd like to ascend above your zodiac sign in an affordable way and find out more about what really makes you tick, please check out my personal horoscope reports. There's a special offer on a year's forecast and also a character analysis, 30% off. Please see the link below. Hello Scorpio, and welcome to your monthly horoscope for April. A month which begins with your traditional ruler of Mars in a very dynamic part of your situation. The 8th house is about as sexy as it gets. It's a kind of echo of the natural power of your zodiac sign. So Mars going through Gemini through to the 22nd can see you a bit more direct, a bit more thrusting, but also going for what you really need at a very deep level. And that really can call out to your deeper senses. But of course the Sun and also Venus initially are in the part of your horoscope that's to do with everyday realities, the 6th house. This is all the boring stuff, sorry. So it's to do with appointments, commitments, reliability, where we are needing to be sacrificing of our time to assist others. It can be about aunts and uncles, but also about pets. So if you're someone who's very close to anyone in your world, or you have loved animals in your life, then I think that will call out to you too. But it is true to say that Mercury, the planet of communication, which has been travelling through your sister water triplicity of Pisces, does move on the 4th into the sign of Aries. Now, although Mercury's transit through Pisces is good for your sign personally, it's not the greatest place for Mercury itself. So its move into Aries is good because it brings some fire to proceedings, and it's going to give you a bit more determination and grit to get to the bottom of whatever details that you need to grapple with. And if you're someone, you're someone who does like to delve and understand things at a more psychological level, and those everyday life sort of details actually may bore you a little bit. It just depends on your unique natal horoscope. But if you are somebody who likes things to run in a very neat and tidy way, Mercury moving into this zone is terrific. It can give you the push to spring clean, to be a bit more dynamic, to reduce the amount of clutter that you might have in your immediate world, and that can be very freeing of energy. Now, it is true to say that in the first 10 days of this month, Mars, your traditional ruler, is forging a very cordial link to Venus in this practical area. And what I would say to you is that although we think of Mars and Venus as being around romance, or let's be a bit franker about it, sex, actually Venus in the 6th house can be very much about money, and Mars in the 8th house can be about longer term resources. Venus in the 6th house is more about how we relate around transactions. So it means talking to the lawyer, it may mean writing a letter, a follow-up email. It's like how we relate, the courtesies that we exchange to smooth the path of the transaction. Mars is more your desire to get what you need in that deal. But they are forging a very good alliance, and if you do work with someone that you're finding a bit hot to be around, they may start to sort of appear on your consciousness in a more urgent way in this first 10 days. But then on the 4th, Mars does start to be conflicted by the dreamy, nebulous, but sometimes draining energies of Neptune. Now, Neptune since 2012 has been in a glorious part of your horoscope, one which is very much about your self-expression, your creativity, your love life. And Neptune at its best can give us a higher frequency access to senses and joys which perhaps no other planet enables us to grasp. But also Neptune has a very much of a downside. It can be confusing, it can be draining, it can deteriorate situations, it erodes. Think of water crashing onto a coast and the cliffs falling away. So Neptune does have a downside, and its angle to Mars suggests that if there is somebody that you really fancy from the 4th through to the 14th, and they seem to sort of make your pulse race, but you never really quite know where you stand with them. There's not that knowing where you are feeling. It could actually be very tempting, but also very disappointing. So I'm not saying you shouldn't go for it. I'm just saying just be aware that there could be some politics or some hidden stuff. Mars and Neptune in the right angle is trickster central, seriously. Now on the 12th, there's a glorious new moon. So this new moon's brilliant if you are thinking, if you're in the northern hemisphere with the better weather coming in, the longer days, if you're thinking more about what you're eating, drinking, you want to embrace a more naturalistic diet, you might want to grow your own vegetables, so you may be planting some stuff. Perfect time to do some as we welcome in the spring. But your modern ruler of Pluto is conflicting the new moon. So for the following month, it's possible that your nervous system can be a bit ramped up. And if you find yourself, having a bit too much adrenaline or finding it difficult to come down after a hard day at work, then just be aware that Pluto's making your thoughts, but also your ideas, much more intense, particularly with neighbours, particularly with siblings, and it could be even with colleagues. So it doesn't mean to say this new moon can't help you to upgrade and make your existence more virtuous, because you can certainly go for that, but you may have to challenge some of your more strongly and passionately held beliefs. And that may mean, therefore, sacrificing yourself to the viewpoints of others, especially people who do know a lot about natural health, ways of doing things that are more perhaps fresher and newer to you. So if you are someone who likes to stick very much with what you know, I think that new moon is pushing you to update your thinking. And if you're someone who's very open to doing that, and that's great. If you're someone who's more resistant to that, it could cause some niggles, and perhaps you could also feel a little bit stressed as well. Now in week 2, Venus and Pluto come into a right angle. Now this is actually really quite an interesting aspect. I think Venus and Pluto aspects are two of the most exciting aspects in astrology, because Venus is about what we desire, but it's also about what we attract. It can be about lust, it can be about loot, but it can also be about art and design and style. So it can be about fashion and stuff like that. Pluto, of course, is about neat power, but also about transformation. But it can also be about the desires we might not want to openly admit to other people. So, for example, if there is somebody at work that you're really strongly drawn to, but it's not necessarily politically correct to show that. Perhaps it's against the rules and regulations, your terms and conditions of employment in that particular organisation. You may find yourself thinking about ways that you can get around that. So when Venus and Pluto are in sharp angles, the opposition and the square particularly, less so the conjunction, I think some leverage can go on. And it could be you find yourself being drawn towards something around money, around sex, around a relationship, around possessions, but your way of going about it might be compromised a little bit. So just be aware. You may be someone who just thinks, well, that's life. Sometimes you have to be a bit more out for what you need to get. If you're someone who's more principled and more spiritual, I think you'll understand that this is one that needs some care. But on the 14th, Venus actually moves into a truly beautiful location, and that is, of course, your opposite sign of Taurus. So the 7th house transit is one of the most loveliest you can possibly have. And if there has been a few strains in the few previous weeks, this is a great time to try to find equilibrium, to let go a little bit. Harmony is really going to be calling out to you when Venus moves into this location. So if you have somebody new come into your world in the last half of this month, there's lots to say that this person can bring both a sense of excitement, but also a lot of companionship too. But in weeks 2 and 3, Mars, your traditional ruler, is forging a terrific angle with the Sun. And if you are working on something that's very much to do with practicalities, but it could transform your finances in some way, your desire, drive, determination, but also passion to get things done is going to be really fantastic. Now on the 19th, the Sun and Mercury join up with Venus and Uranus in that 7th solar house. This is a wonderful collective. The Sun moves at 8:34 p.m. Universal Central Time on the 19th. But having Mercury come along as well, Mercury in Taurus can be a bit stubborn, but it also is about reality. You know, the sign of Aries is about manifesting things. It's the magician, if you like. And we're moving into the sign of Taurus. It's very much about earthy. You want to see the tangible evidence. So around a relationship, if you've been seeing someone for some while, you want to see their more concrete commitment to you, I feel. If you're meeting somebody new, there's going to be a little bit of excitement around this, I believe, Scorpio, and that is, and if you know your astrology, you know what I'm leading up to, it is of course because of Uranus. So Uranus is going to be connecting with Venus, the Sun and Mercury all by the end of this month, but particularly on the 27th when we have the full moon in your sign, the most passionate full moon of the whole year, but on the other side of the heavens there's Uranus very close to the Sun. So what I would say is the 7th house isn't just about relating, it's also about competing, and it's also about our boundaries, and it can also be about, in traditional astrology, our open enemies. But open enemies are the people we know we need to take on, like competitors or an opponent in a game of tennis or squash or badminton. Or it could be someone at work that, yeah, we may not be the best of friends, but we may not be the greatest of enemies. It's just we know that the boss is actually auditing each person's performance, and so therefore there is a competitive edge. So those kind of relationships can be to the fore at the end of this month, but the electricity of Uranus suggests that if you're in a relationship which is dull, which has lost its sparkle, which doesn't make your pulse race, which is so predictable, you almost know what you're going to have for dinner every single day of every single week, what programs you'll watch on the telly. You can anticipate what your partner's going to say. And that sense of cosy familiarity has actually long lost its luster. You could stage a revolution with the help of Uranus. Uranus is a planet that's exalted in your sign, but it's in its full in Taurus. Now, both your sign and Taurus, and of course Leo and Aquarius, are all fixed. So the fixed crosses, quadrants if you like, are fascinating because fixed people, I'm one because I've got Scorpio and Aquarius in abundance, we like a degree of sameness is probably not very good English, but you'll get my drift. A degree of familiarity, but Scorpio people can be very invested into situations at a very deep level for a very long time, and people think that is how it is, that is it, and then boom, it can change very, very dramatically, and big alterations can sweep in. Now, I'm not telling you what to do. You are the person who will decide what to do with your life. I'm only saying that if in a competitive situation or a personal situation or around friendships or around family relationships, there's something that does need to be articulated in a more honest and truthful way, because Uranus is the planet of truth. The end of this month could see you being much more outspoken about your personal needs, not just about your viewpoints about others, because Scorpio people can be very pointed about pointing out other people's weaknesses. It's part of your appeal, but this is more personal. And if a relationship isn't working for you, that Scorpio full moon suggests at the end of this month and the first 2 weeks of May, you are going to make some very big decisions. Been a pleasure being with you. Stay safe, Take care. Goodbye.